Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here, and today we have the Game Week 14 deadline stream. Welcome back. For those of you who just joined the deadline stream, thank you for joining. We are, I would say, 3.5 hours away from. Wait, is it 3.5 hours away? Yeah, 3.5 hours away from the game week 14 deadline. So it's the first midweek deadline that we've had in, I don't know, maybe the whole season, right? So if you're watching this stream, you're technically already ahead of some people, because I assure you that there are gonna be people forgetting that there's a deadline today. All right, so let's say hi to some of you guys in the chat before we get started. Nicholas, nice to see you, moderator in the chat. Lost Aussie Abroad, nice to see you. BGMI APG Gamer. Ian, member in the chat, nice to see you. Game week's coming thick and fast. Yeah, I mean, this the best part about December. That's the best part. OP Talent says start Ryan Nuri or Mikalenko. I would start Ryan Nuri for the better attacking threat. Zubi, nice to see you. Arya, Clarence, DRK34. All right, let's get started, shall we? Before I get into the questions, just very quickly, just speak about my team before we jump into the questions. So I have Verbruggen in goal. I was always gonna start Verbruggen. Saliba and Gabriel, both of them in the back line against Manchester United at home. Rico Lewis, Nottingham Forest at home. Now I am uncertain whether Rico Lewis is going to start, I'll be honest. I think there's a chance as well that because Vardiel was rested, it's totally possible that they go with Vardiel and Kyle Walker instead, but Walker also has not been looking very good at all. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Lewis has been playing lots of minutes, but I wouldn't be surprised if Lewis continues to get a start, right? So I'm going with him here. He probably gets about 2 more game weeks in my team, because it's Nottingham Forest and then it's Crystal Palace in game week 15, right? Which is just a weekend, by the way. Like it's coming thick and fast now. And then in midfield, it's Saka, Palmer, Rogers, Salah, and Semenyo. And up front, Cunha and Jackson. So basically, I've brought in Saka as well as Nicholas Jackson for Isak and also Brian Mbumo. Right, so the rest of the team is as such. I have 2 Nottingham Forest players on the bench. Probably will deal with them in later game weeks as well. I don't see the real rush to lose Chris Wood though. Maybe for João Pedro, but that's to free up money later down the line if I need to. But yeah, aside from that, that's how the team looks like. Let me know how you guys are lining up. Zubi says, "Do you think Isak starts?" Eddie Howe threw me off with the press comments. I do think that Isak will start. I mean, I did see I wouldn't say it's super reliable, but I did see a source on Twitter. Let me just see if I can find the exact wording of the tweet, so I don't kind of mislead you guys. Yeah, so basically, what he said was he took a knock to his hip. This is what Eddie Howe said, right? He said that Isak took a knock to his hip, wasn't able to carry on. Haven't seen him in training yet. We don't know. We don't think it's a long-term injury, is what he said. And then the player himself, Alexander Isak, was in an interview yesterday with Sky, and he himself said that he was fine. So my guess is that he's fine, right? And I think I would take the chance that he will start more than the fact that I think he won't, right? So my guess is that he'll start, and I'll be, happy enough to play him if he's a player that you can't deal with. It's not as if you have to transfer Isak out, right? It's not as if you have to transfer Isak out. You can just keep him, or even I've seen some people bench Isak this week, and then with the intention to start him from next week onwards. So lots of different ways to go about the Isak situation. Don't you think being a midweek game week and Chelsea's huge squad, Palmer might not be playing more than 17 minutes in the game, so captaining him can be a risk? Fair enough, but I mean Southampton are gonna be very very thin, and to be fair as well, how many times has Palmer played midweek? This is probably gonna be his first time in probably this season because he wasn't involved in Europe at all. And I don't think we've had midweek game weeks. So honestly, this first kind of Southampton midweek game is probably gonna be his first one. Right. So I wouldn't be too worried to be honest. Like him being substituted early is not gonna put me off captaining him. I still think he is the best captain for game week 14. Feels a little bit more clear cut than last week for sure. Clarence, nice to see you. Best Konate replacement, time to replace Vardiol. I think if you're looking for Konate replacements, I really don't mind Joe Gomez. It's either Joe Gomez or Levi Colwell. Those are the two that I'd be seriously considering. It's either Chelsea defense with the really good fixtures coming up, or the Liverpool defense for obvious reasons. Right, so it's Joe Gomez. I mean, if you can stretch to Van Dijk, then obviously Van Dijk because you get the extra goal threat from corners, and honestly, Van Dijk could have gotten many. I wouldn't say many headed goals, but he had lots of chances from set pieces against Man City. If you watch the game, you would understand what I meant. Right, so if you have enough money, I don't mind Van Dijk. I still don't think stretching to Trent is necessary. Like, I mean, Trent doesn't feel like he justifies his price tag to me. I've seen a couple of people, like, if you have him, you might as well just keep him. Not if he blocks your moves later on. But if not, if you're buying, I don't think you would go so far as to buy someone like Trent. I mean, he's not someone that's on my watch list, right? Because I don't think I'll have the money for him, and I think it's better spent elsewhere. And I don't mind just getting a cheap defender is from Liverpool. It's not as if the attacking threat that Trent possesses is going to be so much more that it's worth paying that extra money for him. Jackson for a differential captain. I've seen this question a couple of times. Jackson for a differential captain. I mean, generally I like to captain penalty takers. But if you want to go different and you just don't want to captain Palmer, I don't mind Jackson as well. I think he'll do quite well. I mean, I've brought him in with that thinking that immediately now in Game Week 14, it's a plum fixture for him. Vardy replacement, same. Levi Colwell, Joe Gomez, Virgil van Dijk. Is Son good recently? I think he's dropped off a little bit, to be honest. I do think he's dropped off a little bit. Toby, nice to see you in the chat. He says, I'm going to get a red arrow this week, -8. I mean, anything can happen. Not necessarily if you take a hit that you'll get a -8. But I'd be keen to know your moves, though. Steve Beef says, debating between Kirkes, Joe Gomez, Timber, and Colwell. I don't mind the Kirkes pick, to be honest, but the thing is, would I buy him now in Game Week 14 if I need to start him? I don't think I would. So maybe the window for buying Kirkes is next week. So if this week, maybe the one of the best fixtures is probably Levi Colwell. And it's also likely where I would lean to if I was actually buying a defender this week. Ian says, supper question. Have a cake in the fridge. Should I make a sandwich? Have to go for the cake. It's the sweet treat at night, my friend. Man United will score. That'll wipe out the double Arsenal clean sheet. Manchester United do look good, I have to say. Like, I did mention in my team selection video a couple times that I don't mind hopping onto someone like Marcus Rashford, for example, in place of Morgan Rogers. So the next few game weeks, I'll be taking it to assess the Manchester United players and also amassing the funds for that because I don't have enough money now in the bank to do Rogers up to someone like Rashford, and I also want to make sure that he starts almost like every other game in the Premier League before I buy Marcus Rashford because they do have quite a number of players who can play in the center forward spot. But whenever in the Premier League and also in recent times when you look at, Marcus Rashford coming back into form, this could be the time, right? So I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I'm going to give a couple more game weeks to assess before I actually move on him, but it is something I'm thinking about. Start Rogers or Mbumo? This one is also another tricky question. Rogers has the home fixture and Mbumo hasn't been doing very well. I want to say I would side the penalty taker still though, despite Mbumo not playing very well of late. So I think I would still go Mbumo, right? Even though I do have Rogers in here and I've sold Mbumo, but if it's a straight shootout between the two, I think it's Mbumo. City will keep a clean sheet for the first time, then hopefully Rico Lewis will start. I mean, if there's any fixture that, or if there's any time that they start to turn their form around, I think it's now from game week 14 onwards. The fixtures moving forward are there for them to kind of change the trajectory of their form. And I honestly think they won't go on conceding every game or losing every game. I think sooner rather than later, we will see them turn a corner. So that's the thinking also with Lewis that I don't mind just holding on to him and we'll wait and see. In fact, I would sell Aina on the bench earlier than I would sell Rico Lewis because the fixtures moving forward for Aina are actually really quite bad from a defensive standpoint. Bench one, Chris Wood, Johnson or Semenyo. Probably Chris Wood. Probably Chris Wood. I actually fancy the Manchester City, team in general, I would say. I fancy them to get something against Nottingham Forest. And Chris Wood actually only had one shot on target the last game and against Ipswich, and that was his penalty. So we got away with that one for sure. And I do like the look of Johnson as well as Semenyo for the Bournemouth and Tottenham game. I think that would be quite high scoring. Gomez, Porro, Saliba, Luca, Dean, pick three. Saliba, Porro, and Gomez. Not super keen on Luca Dean. Like the thing is, the fixture is decent enough for him, but Villa defensively have been struggling quite a bit, and it's also the minutes risk with Luca Dean, right? Like there's every chance that he doesn't start in game week 14. Rogers or Bruno? Rogers or Bruno is another tricky one, but I want to say again Bruno because of the penalties. Like I can't see myself benching someone who's 8-ish million. I just can't see that happening. Kelleher or Flecken? Definitely prefer Kelleher, despite the Newcastle fixture. Brentford just can't keep clean sheets. I did have a parting gift from Flecken in game week 13 though, so game week 12. So big up to Flecken, but I think that's it for clean sheets for Brentford. Robinson, Konza, and 8 Nuri. Who to start? Robinson, Konza, and 8 Nuri. Konza, at least the difference with Konza and Luca Dean is that I can confirm that Konza is going to start, right? So Konza, Robinson has Fulham play Brighton. Not ideal. I'll start Konza ahead of Robinson. And then 8. I think I would go Konza and 8 Nuri. Nah, I take that back. I think I go Robinson and Konza. And I put 8 Nuri down to the bench. Thoughts on Pinnock to Kukurea. Thing with Kukurea is that I don't think every game he's gonna get an assist. Like he was pretty lucky to get the one he got over the weekend. I'm not. I'm just not convinced that he's worth that kind of a price point. Like I'd rather go for Levi Colwell. Is selling Wood for Jackson worth it? I wouldn't mind that move at all. I wouldn't mind that move. Pick three to start: Hall, Timber, Van Heck, Colwell, Gabriel. I will start Gabriel, Colwell. And it's between Van Heck and Timber. I definitely wouldn't start Lewis Hall because he's playing against Liverpool. So between Timber and Van Heck, if you're okay to double up on the Arsenal defense, then maybe Timber. If not, to spread a bit of risk, then it could be Van Heck. But I think it comes down to either one of Timber or Van Heck. Hall would be down to the bench for sure. Rogers or Vissa? If it was Aston Villa at home for Vissa, I think I might just choose Vissa. But Rogers has the home game. I think I might go Rogers here, you know. KKJJ92 says bench one of Rogers, Semenyo, Pedro, and Vissa. I'm assuming there's João Pedro. I would definitely start João Pedro for sure. Comes down to Rogers, Semenyo, and Vissa. I might bench Semenyo and start Rogers, Pedro, as well as Vissa. Right, I'm far behind in the chat. But thank you all of you guys for coming down. It's already 100 of you guys watching. And we are still more than 3 hours to the deadline. So thank you all for coming down. If you haven't already, please do drop a like on the stream so that we can reach more people. And drop your questions in the chat as well. If I haven't answered it, I will try my best to get to them. All right. Thoughts on Trent versus Van Dijk? I think I just go for the cheaper player. You know, I honestly don't think Trent is worth the. Let's just have a look and compare them. Yeah, I mean Van Dijk is 0.5 can go a really long way. Like Van Dijk is at 6.4 and Trent is at 6.9. Like I honestly think I don't think that Trent is worth 6.9 million when players like Van Dijk who's cheaper exist and also Joe Gomez. I mean 4.8, like you're not gonna get too much of a difference because I honestly don't think in recent times that the premium you pay for Trent is worth it. So I was pretty happy to go off of Trent when I sold him. But yeah, I mean, I feel like people are reacting to the Man City clean sheet that he got. But I think you just need to look at your team structure again and see if going for Trent probably means that you're not able to go for someone else elsewhere, whether it's the forwards, whether it's the midfield. So I wouldn't really look at it as just going for Trent. I'll be looking at it in terms of, say, for example, Trent plus Jackson, or say for example, Trent plus João Pedro or Gomez plus Jackson. Like I would compare it together instead of looking at just Trent himself, because the money that you can get by freeing up this kind of extra, if you go for Van Dijk, it's 0.5. If you go for Gomez, it's much more. You can spend it elsewhere. So I think it's more worth it to go for those cheaper defenders. Start Verbruggen or Fabianski? Verbruggen for sure. Are you benching Chris Wood? Yes, I'm benching Chris Wood. Salah or Palmer for captaincy? It's on Palmer for me, for sure. What do you think on selling Isak for Watkins? I don't mind selling Isak. I'm just not so sure about the Aston Villa attack right now, so I don't think I would go Watkins. He's quite. I guess you can think of him as a bit of a differential right now, but you're definitely gambling on him turning his form around because recently he hasn't been good at all. Not just his form, I mean Aston Villa's form as well. A random penguin says, "Hey, consult Trent, Timber, Robertson, and Rogers, or Trent, Gabriel, Shea, and Mitoma." I'm on a wild card. I see. Um, I don't like doubling up the Liverpool defense with Trent and Robertson. To me, that feels like too much money in the Liverpool defense. Timber and Rogers, or Trent, Gabriel, Shea, and Mitoma. I actually prefer the latter. I prefer the second option. Bench Welbeck or Semenyo. Mm, I'd say Welbeck based on recent form. I mean, Semenyo loves to take shots. That's the thing. And Spurs, I know, will definitely leave space behind for him. Mbumo to Johnson, good or not? I wouldn't be transferring Brennan Johnson in now. The midfielders that I've been looking at, mainly I think there's not a lot, but I think Bowen is one of them. If you are keen to go for the West Ham fixtures, it looked decent enough. Mitoma, I mean, the only concern for me, I don't mind Mitoma looking at the way he's performed last week, but the main concern is that he came off with a bit of a knock, right? So he's not 100% fit, I would say. So and there wasn't enough clarity given in the press conference, so you're taking a bit of a risk there. But if you don't mind that, then Mitoma is pretty good as well. The issue with the Manchester United midfielders is their kind of next three fixtures: Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, and then Man City. It's not super good. So the window to get them is probably after these 3 game weeks. Best two defenders for the next 5 weeks, I would say, is Levi Colwell and either one of Van Dijk or Joe Gomez. I'm assuming you already have Arsenal defenders. If you don't have Arsenal defenders already, I would look at Arsenal defenders first. Specifically Gabriel. Specifically Gabriel. Bench whom? Wood or Mbumo? I think Chris Wood. Have had Saliba since game week 1. Should I take him out for Gabriel now, or is Saliba good enough? I think Saliba can never cover what Gabriel is able to do. Like every set piece that they've recently had, because I had Saliba, I paid so much attention to what Saliba does during the set pieces and whether he is, even going to give himself a chance of getting on the end of it. He's doing other things like blocking players, or I think that's what the Arsenal players are instructed to do. Like everyone is pretty much having a certain role, whether it's making a run in a certain direction, blocking players, kind of screening them, so that at the end of the day the ball can get to Gabriel's head and he will put it at the back of the net. So everything feels to me like it's channeled towards Saliba, that channeled to Gabriel, that Saliba getting a goal is going to be quite difficult, right? And you can see from the stats as well, like XG wise, Gabriel is just so much higher than Saliba. So I don't think it's a sideways move because Gabriel offers so much more. But because the Arsenal fixtures are so good moving forward, I would actually consider, in your position, keeping Saliba and then adding Gabriel to it. So similar to kind of my structure. Haaland or Palmer or Saka captain pick. Yeah, let's do a poll in a bit. I'll put up a poll soon. Lewis Hall or Konza? I will go Konza. Is it worth it to sell Vissa or Isak for Cunha, or am I too late for Cunha? I don't think the fixtures for Cunha moving forward are still very good. They're still very, very good. It's Everton away, West Ham away, Ipswich at home, Leicester away. It only gets bad from game week 18 onwards. It only gets bad from game week 18 onwards. And that is when you can start to look to ship him out. Right? So I think there is still enough window, but the longer you delay getting Cunha, the worse it's going to look for the longer term fixtures. Top three Konate replacements under 5.7. Colwell, Joe Gomez. I put Van Heck in there as well. Okay, I'm really, really behind on the questions. Give me a moment. But thank you all for sending in your questions. I appreciate that. Wildcard draft. I've done one already. Let me just pull it up on screen. It's actually on the Instagram, but I'll just flash it on the screen. So basically for game week 14, this is the wildcard draft that I would have gone with. So Raya and Fabianski, and then Gabriel in defense kind of completes a double up for Arsenal. And then there's Colwell, Gomez, Van Heck, and Kirkes. And then in midfield, it's Saka, Semenyo, Salah, Palmer, and Bowen. Bowen is a bit of a differential. You don't have to go for him, but for this draft and the kind of money that I have, I don't mind just going for a bit of a differential. And then up front is Jackson, João Pedro, and Cunha. So this is the draft that I would have gone with if I was in a game week 14 wildcard. Let me know what you guys think about it. Will Isak play? My guess is he will. My guess is he will play. Is it worth it to get Johan Vissa? I don't think now is the time to buy Vissa, to be honest. Start Mbumo or João Pedro. João Pedro. Any news on Mitoma? Unfortunately, I don't have any, and that's the issue with going for Mitoma right now. There's a bit of a gamble. Bench Dalo or Greaves? Will Greaves even start though? He wasn't even in the squad the last game. Like I know he will be coming back soon, but I'm not so sure if he's gonna start. Like let me just confirm if there are any kind of new updates regarding Greaves. Yeah, I mean, nothing conclusive that I see that says Greaves is gonna start. So I mean, I don't think he's gonna come straight back in. To be honest, he wasn't even in the squad the last game. Yeah, I mean, nothing that I've seen. Should I captain Palmer or Jackson? Right, let's do a captaincy poll. I guess it is time to do a captaincy poll. Before I do the captaincy poll, right, let me just switch it back to, yep. So before I do the captaincy poll, please help me out. Spam in the chat who you guys are captaining so that we can have a look at a couple options. I would assume Palmer and Salah still going to be there because of recent performances. But there are alternatives. Like I think some people might still be considering Saka as well. Like Jackson also up there. Anyone else? Drop it in the chat. Let me know. Madian says, how about another -4 for Jackson? Gabriel / Timber or Van Dijk. Plan to captain Palmer for this game week. Gabriel / Timber or Van Dijk. Oh, sorry. Wait, I don't really understand that. Jackson, Gabriel / Timber or Van Dijk -4. I think I need more context for that. Milton says, who would you bench between Mbumo, Vissa, and Rogers? I wouldn't go double Brentford, I think. Sounds crazy. But you might have to bench Vissa for Rogers. I just think away from home, like at home, Brentford are really good. Like I back the attack, and I don't think they've lost at home this season yet. But away from home, they do tend to struggle a little bit. But the converse is also true that for Aston Villa, whether it's home or away, they have not been doing very well. Do you think Jackson is worth a -4 to play instead of Brennan Johnson? Jackson for a -4 instead of I just play Brennan Johnson. One free transfer, play Isak or sell to Jackson, or sell Wood to Cunha instead and bench Isak or roll. Wow. Tricky. Hmm. Wood to Cunha and bench. My guess is that Isak starts. So I don't mind doing the Wood to Cunha move and then starting Isak as well. Like that gives you two starting players that at least you wouldn't mind with the fixtures they have moving forward. You wouldn't mind starting them. But for Chris Wood, his fixtures are quite tricky moving forward. They do start to get quite tricky. So yeah, I do the Cunha move, and then I would start Isak. Like, I wouldn't need to bench him. I think Wood to Cunha and bench Isak. Yeah, I think I would do that. Okay, so thoughts on Greaves starting. I don't think we have any news that Greaves is gonna start. To be honest, I haven't even seen it anywhere. If it's a question though, I don't think Greaves is gonna start. Like that would require him to immediately come back into the team that's won and then immediately start at centre back. Like I don't think generally that's what Premier League teams do. Jackson's predicted to be benched. I haven't seen that anywhere. I haven't seen that anywhere at all. In fact, he came off early for game week 13, so I don't think he's gonna get benched. I think he started every single game, if I'm not wrong. I mean, 13 starts in 13 game weeks. I don't see a reason why he would be benched all of a sudden. And he scored last week as well. Ian says there's a feeling a lot of managers will have the premium for the foreseeable future if Hull and City don't start doing better. Yeah. And that, I guess, is a downside. That is not a great thing because everyone's going to have Saka, Palmer, and Salah. It's going to be quite tricky to go different. Up front, everyone has a similar structure, I would say. Either one of Isak or Jackson. And then João Pedro is someone that everyone loves as well. And then either Cunha or someone like Strand Larson or Raul Jimenez if they were holding Raul Jimenez on from previous game weeks. But if not, the structure is just generally there. So it's hard to honestly go different. So I will be looking for opportunities. I wouldn't be, purposely looking to go different. I would really kind of assess the spot and see whether it is worth like the Rogers to Marcus Rashford move is really something I'm considering from let me have a look. From game week 17 onwards, I don't mind just dropping Rogers already and then going on to Marcus Rashford. Like the fixtures also start to turn very nicely. So the plan for me is to actually just lead up. I mean, I'm not going for Bruno Fernandes, but just for illustration purposes, like you see from game week 17 onwards, I don't mind having Manchester United players. I don't mind going for someone like Ahmad or going for someone like Marcus Rashford if they continue to look good. Right, so that I think is where I'm probably going to tend to. But again, obviously subject to all the, usual caveats like will they continue to look good, etc. Is double Arsenal defense a move this week? I was eyeing on Timber and as Konate replacement, but I've got Gabriel already. I don't think this is the week I would jump on Arsenal defense. Like if you're looking for a defender right now, I think you could go for Levi Colwell. You could also go for Joe Gomez and then wait one more game week later on. You could avoid this Manchester United fixture basically. Just wait one more game week to get the Arsenal defender. That would mean 2 defender transfers in this week and the next. So it will depend on how many free transfers you have. Isn't Mitoma a good shout for wild card or Mbumo substitution? Yes, I do think so, but it's just I'm not sure how serious the injury is that he has right now. Like he picked up a knock towards the end of the game, so issue is we don't know much about it. Any chance for -4 for Visa to Jackson worth it? Um, -4 Visa to Jackson. Would I do it? I don't think I'll do it. I think I'll just start Visa. Rate the team: Sanchez, Gabriel Saliba, Itnuri, Bowen, Palmer, Salah, Saka, Cunha, Jackson, and João Pedro. I think the team looks fine. The team looks good, to be fair. Start two: Isak, Rogers, and Mitoma. You could use the excuse that there's a bit of risk with Isak and then just bench him and go Rogers and Mitoma. Liverpool just looks so good right now, and Newcastle don't really impress me. I think it's easier to bench someone like Isak than it is to bench someone like Bruno Fernandes this week. They're around the same price point, but I'd be happier to bench Isak as compared to Bruno Fernandes. Double up on Liverpool or Chelsea defense. I'd say Liverpool. I don't really trust the Chelsea defense enough to double up on them at least. Haaland. Oh yes, yes, yes. Okay, the captaincy poll. The captaincy poll. Who is your game week 14 captain? So let's go with Palmer, Salah, Haaland, and then other. Let me know in the poll who you guys are going for your captains. Is Cucurella an option? He is, but I prefer to take the cost saving and go for Levi Colwell. Start Rutzer or Mbumo. I would say Mbumo for the penalties. Who would you start between Larson and Rogers? I mean, based on latest form, Larson looks pretty good, to be honest. And Everton are quite defensively quite shaky. I think I'd go Strand Larson instead of Rogers if you're choosing between one of them. Would you start Mbumo or Semenyo? Close call. I think I still go Mbumo for the penalties. Bench one: João Pedro, Cunha, Mitoma, or Isak. I'd say Isak. Bench Isak in that case. Really, really tricky decisions that you guys are having this week. I completely understand why you guys will be asking these questions. These are tricky questions. Chinwei says, hi Leon, will you transfer Konate plus Isak out for Tram plus Evan Nielsen, or roll the two transfers and play bench covers Luka Dean and Isak / Rogers? Also, if rolling, start Isak or Rogers. I don't think Konate plus Isak out for Trent and Evan Nielsen is what I would do. So I don't like the move. Roll the two transfers and play the bench covers. Yeah, I think I would roll the transfers and play your bench covers. If it's between Rogers and Isak, I think you could use this as an opportunity, use the flag on him as an opportunity to just bench Isak and then start Rogers instead. Bruno, Semenyo, and Rogers, help me in picking two. And should I start Solanke? I think if you have Solanke, you start him. Between Semenyo and Bruno, Semenyo, and Rogers starting two, I think you bench either one of Semenyo or Rogers. Likely Semenyo. I can't see myself benching. I can't see myself benching Bruno. It's harder to bench, as I've said, it's harder to bench Bruno than it is to bench Isak, I feel, this week. Worth upgrading one of Rogers or Semenyo with 3.3 million in the bank. Any further transfers are for a hit. Upgrading one of Rogers or Semenyo, 3.3 million. I mean, what are your options? Bowen? Is it worth a -4? Is it worth a -4? I honestly think I would just play both Rogers and either one of Rogers or Semenyo in your situation. I wouldn't sell for the extra 3.3. It depends if you really like someone like Bowen and you don't mind going for the West Ham fixtures moving forward. If not, I think you can just roll. Semenyo and Rogers have really good fixtures, at least for the next 2 to 3 game weeks. Like Rogers could be shipped on after that. Like from game week 17 onwards, you could lose him. But Semenyo has a longer horizon. Like after Spurs, it's Ipswich, West Ham, then it's Manchester United away, then it's Crystal Palace, Fulham, Everton. Like it gets good for a longer period of time for Semenyo. So I don't mind just keeping both of them, and then maybe 2 to 3 game weeks later you could get rid of Rogers, and by then there'd be a better window to buy cheaper midfielders. Have a good game week to you too. K7 Thorkel says, when are you looking at bringing in Liverpool defense, and who is your primary target? I've got 4 million in the bank. 4 million in the bank is a lot. If you have a lot of money in the bank, then I wouldn't mind going for someone like Van Dijk. Security of minutes, set piece threat as well. But if you are planning more expensive moves elsewhere, then I don't mind Joe Gomez as well. It's mainly these two that I'm looking at. I'm really not considering someone like Trent, no matter how much money you have. FPL Era, nice to see you in the chat. Afternoon to you too. Setting up for your own stream. Very, very nice. Hop on over to FPL Era stream once he starts it up. He's recently also just hit 7,000 subscribers, so massive milestone for him there. Bumo to Semenyo and Vissa to Jackson. Bumo to Semenyo, Vissa to Jackson. I like those moves. I'd actually make it. Start Bumo or João Pedro, I would start João Pedro. Could Rogers' minutes be limited with 3 games in the next 7 days? The thing with Rogers is that he was taken off at about 60, at the 60th minute, I guess, 66th minute. I'm not exactly sure the exact time. I could actually check here. 65th. He was taken off the 65th minute. And yeah, he's had a bit of a rest. Like I think we could see that moving forward. But I don't mind just taking a bit of a gamble as well, I would say. If you want a 90-minute player, then obviously Mbumo is the one that is the 90-minute man. He's going to start every single game and play 90 minutes. Johnson or Welbeck? Johnson. I have no choice in my defender, so it's either Hall or Murillo. That is tricky. Then probably Lewis Hall then for the greater goal threat. Darren says, Yo Leon, would you take out Mbumo plus Konate for Odegaard plus Gomez, or Isak and Konate for Havertz and Trent? I don't like the Havertz and Trent one. Mbumo plus Konate for Odegaard and Gomez. I'm not super sure how I feel about Odegaard as well. Ideally, I would want Saka. But if you already have Saka and you're doubling up on the Arsenal attack, that is a little bit better. Right, so Odegaard plus Gomez in the situation where it's double Arsenal attack, then okay. But I would really prioritize just getting Saka first. Like he is the player that you need to get into your team for a very long period of time. Martin, nice to see you. Uh, Raya Fabianski has to be Raya. Has to be Raya. Start Raya Fabianski. Raya. Chinwei says, thanks for answering my. Yeah, no worries at all. Have a good game week to you too. Start Mbumo or Jao Pedro. I'll start Jao Pedro. Rate my team. Gabriel, Dalo. Wait, Sanchez, Gabriel, Dalo, 8 Nuri, Mbumo, Palmer, Salasaka. I'd start Rogers instead of Chris Wood in your position. And yeah, I think the rest is fine. You could argue that maybe you if you have another free transfer, you could do Konate to like a Gomez or something. But if you are okay to start 8 Nuri as well as Dalo alongside Gabriel, then fair enough. For what it's worth, I don't think Dalo keeps a clean sheet though. If you have to bench one between Vandenberg or Robinson, given that you have to start Welbeck, what would your view be? Vandenberg or Robin? I'd bench the Brentford player. Clear as day. Visa, Cunha, Mbumo bench one or transfer one for a -4 for Jackson. I wouldn't take the -4, so I would bench one of those, and it will probably be Visa, unfortunately. I mean, if you feel like Mbumo's gonna blank again, you could bench him, but it's just I cannot see myself benching the penalty taker. That's just kind of the FPL manager that I am. But if you are brave enough to maybe bench Mbumo in that case, then okay. YM Soccer says, looking for many different options. What's your take on starting Rogers versus Jao Pedro? Easy as day. This one is Jao Pedro for me. Has to be Jao Pedro on penalties. I sound like I love penalties, but it's just if you have the penalty taker, it adds just a different element. It's not as if there's going to be lots of penalties this season. Like the number has come down, but I just feel like if you spend that, usually you spend extra money to get a penalty taker, and there's a reason why they're priced at that kind of a premium. So anything could happen for penalty takers. Bowen or Kudus, who's a better replacement for Mbumo? I would say Bowen. Sorry, I missed the first two. Bench one, Semenyo, Rogers, or Bruno. And should I start Solanke? Yes, you should start Solanke. Bench one of Rogers, Semenyo, or Bruno. It's either one of Rogers or Semenyo. I wouldn't bench Bruno. Like I think it's harder, as I've said, it's hard to bench Bruno. So between Semenyo and Rogers, maybe Semenyo. But you could argue as well that he's had more of a rest than Rogers. So I don't know. It feels like both teams can be gotten at. Like Brentford at home, Tottenham at home. Both of these kind of fixtures feel to me like there'll be lots of goals. So it's a real close 50-50, this one. Okay, Remedian, thanks for putting your team. So you have Raya, Colwell, Mikalenko, Greaves, Salah, Saka, Bruno, Palmer, Buonanotte, Raul Jimenez, and Cunha. The bench is Fabianski, Hall, Konate, and Jao Pedro. You got to get Jao Pedro in there. -4 for Jackson or one of the Liverpool Arsenal boys. Okay. Defense-wise, Raya, Colwell. I'm not so sure whether Greaves will play, but I don't mind having to start Mikalenko. So I think you have to make one defensive transfer, and it's likely to take Konate out. You could go for Gabriel, I'm assuming, because you don't have Gabriel here. So I think Konate to Gabriel feels like the move for your team. Salah, Saka, Bruno, Palmer, Bonanotti. Your midfield seems fine. In fact, I might bench Bonanotti for João Pedro, just get him in. And then there's Raul Jimenez and Cunha up front. So I think you just need to make a defensive transfer. Easy as that. Yeah, I answered this already. Rogers on 60 to 70 minutes or Jorgen Strand Larsen for 90. I think Strand Larsen. I prefer Strand Larsen over Morgan Rogers. Had to think about it just now. Should I sell Bruno for Ahmad and get Jackson? If it's for free, I probably would do it, you know. Ricky, nice to see you in the chat. Thankfully, you can join your stream. Yeah, nice to have you here. Still thinking whether to start 8 Nuri or Rigo Lewis. It's close. It's close. If I had 8 Nuri, would I start him ahead of Rigo Lewis? The only concern for me is I'm not sure if Rigo Lewis will start this game. Like, that's the only thing. But it's not as if, Kyle Walker has been playing really well. The only concern is the starts for me. If not, I do think like this is a fixture that could see Man City doing quite well. They have to turn it around, right? And I mean, the Wolves' defense is not exactly keeping loads of clean sheets too. Mitoma and Bonanotti as differentials on my wild card already have Saka, Palmer, and Salah. Differentials on your wild card, I think Bowen is someone I wouldn't mind. Mitoma is fine as well. I've already tripled up on Chelsea, so I can't get Colwell. How about Villa defender for Konate? Upcoming fixtures are great, but then they run into a slightly trickier run as well. It's not smooth sailing all the way. Like the City and Newcastle in 17 and 18, and then Brighton is honestly tricky as well. So you could argue it's 3 good fixtures, and then it's 3, slightly trickier fixtures. So I wouldn't say it's technically as good as it looks. I still would prefer, the Liverpool defenders, Joe Gomez, for example, or double Arsenal defense. Is it worth? Sorry, bench to Mbumo, Diaz, Rogers, Chris Wood, rolling the free transfer to fund Saka, perhaps. I think you bench Chris Wood. Diaz looks so good right now. And then, I mean, it's Rogers and Mbumo. Like, it comes down to those two again. I think I would bench Rogers and Chris Wood, and then I will start Mbumo and Diaz in your position. Is it worth take a -4 hit the transfer Bowen instead of Mbumo? Nah. Just start Mbumo. Bench Mbumo or Rogers? I would bench Rogers in that case. $2.6 in the bank, 1 free transfer. Should I roll? Flecken, Lewis, Darlow, 8 Nuri, Boomer, Fernandez, Garnacho, Salah. I think your team is fine. It's more about setting it up properly. Like, I think Gabriel shouldn't be on your bench. Solanke also shouldn't be on your bench. He should be in the starting 11. So I think fixing these, starting 11 decisions is more important than making transfers for your team over Mara. What do you think about Wan-Bissaka in place of Konate? I cannot trust the West Ham defense though. Like I know he's been, doing decently well. I think he scored against Newcastle and also against Arsenal. But yeah, I just can't, he's not going to score every single game week, right? Play Johnson or Mbumo this week. it's tough because Bomo is the one with penalties. But based on recent form, you're gonna say Jackson, right? Sorry, Johnson. Sell Solanke, Isak, or Mbumo. Depends who you're transferring out for. Like I think Mbumo to Saka is definitely the priority move this week, I would say. Play one of Pinnock / Mikalenko or take a hit for Virgil van Dijk. I think you just play Mikalenko. Bruno Rogers would bench one. Would. Bench Isak, Mbumo, or Rogers. I would bench Rogers. Start Greaves or Vandenberg or Aina. For what it's worth, I don't think Greaves is gonna start. That's the thing. Like a lot of people are asking about Greaves now. My guess is because there's not a lot of defenders that you guys have, and maybe you don't want to make defensive transfers. But the reality is that I don't think Greaves is just gonna suddenly come into the starting 11. Like I think for my team as well, like Greaves having Crystal Palace at home is a much better fixture than Lewis having Greaves having Crystal Palace is better than Lewis having Nottingham Forest. But I just don't think that Greaves is gonna start. Do you think Mitoma will play? He's only 75%. I honestly can't give an answer. The honest answer is I don't know. So there is risk in going with Mitoma now. Start Rico Lewis or Estupinian. I would start Estupinian. Start Estupinian. Fabianski or Flecken. I would say, I mean, it is both away games. Leicester potentially new manager bounce, so maybe Flecken in that case. Potentially. Rico Lewis versus Van Heck is definitely Van Heck. Martin says, "Have a great game week. Good night. Have a good game week too. Have a good sleep as well." Will Mitoma play? Honest answer is I don't know. Darren says, "Thanks, Leon. I got Gabby, Saka, Salah, Konate, Palmer, Mbumo, Pedro, Isak, and Cunha. Thinking of two: Gomez, Trent, Timber, Odegaard, Havertz, Jackson. Virgil van Dijk will give me an Mbumo headache." Two of Gomez, Trent, Timber, Odegaard, Havertz, Jackson. I think it's Jackson and then Gomez. Took a while there. Start two, Isak, Bruno, Rogers, Delap, and start two, Davies, Nuri, and Lewis. All right, between Isak, Bruno, Rogers, and Delap, I would start Delap. I think he's looking pretty good recently. And then I would start Bruno Fernandes, and then I would bench Isak and Rogers. Your bench is gonna look really good. Like who else do you have in your starting 11 that you need to bench these players? And then start two of Davies, 8 Nuri, and Rico Lewis. I start Leave Davies against Crystal Palace. And it comes down to 8 Nuri and Rico Lewis. Maybe I chance Rico Lewis in that case. Bench Vissa or Rogers. If it's a straight shootout between the two, I don't know. I tend to favor the home fixture. Like I feel like Aston Villa are gonna do quite well. Like I think in terms of, let me just confirm the winning odds as well. Yeah, I mean, let me just flash this on screen. So basically, again, this is on the FPL Consult Instagram, but it's from 11f5.com. So full credit to 11f5. And basically, look at the Aston Villa Brentford game. It's 2.0 and 1.3. Like the bookies still favor Aston Villa in this case. Right, and I would tend to do so as well because I think away from home, Brentford do tend to struggle. So I would say Rogers still. I would say Rogers, but I would understand why some would still go boom. Some would still go Vissa. Bench Vissa for Kirkes, definitely not this week. Kirkes has Tottenham. Thoughts on the Brighton attack versus the Fulham defense? I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that I think Fulham are not going to be as easy to break down. Right? Like they're playing at home. Playing at home. And at Craven Cottage, they are quite hard to break down. So I would say that it's gonna be a tougher game for the Brighton attack than usual. And generally, Brighton, as what we've observed this season, they do very well against the bigger teams, and then against the, I guess, lower tier teams or mid-table teams, they don't do as well. It's confusing sometimes, to be honest. Start Johnson or Rogers? I'll start Johnson. Who's a bench? Havertz or Semenyo? I'd say Semenyo. I mean, the Arsenal attack is much better than the Brentford attack, right? So Rico Lewis prayed to the start. I have Colwell and Ed Nuri as well. I need two of them to start. I think Rico Lewis, there is some danger in him starting. So if you in him not starting. So if you are uncomfortable with it, you could very well just start Colwell and Ed Nuri in that case. Start João Pedro Semenyo, João Pedro. Start João Pedro on Bumo, João Pedro. Start Bumo or Rogers or João Pedro. João Pedro again. Callum says, hey mate, first time to channel. Should I bench Wood for Joe Gomez? I would say yes. You really think Mbumo won't get 2+ points? I mean, wait, so basically you're asking if I think Mbumo will return. Won't get 2+ points, won't return basically. I mean, it is away from home and it's against Aston Villa. Like, I know Villa have not been good recently, but Brentford away from home are a slightly different team. So I don't think it's super easy. And Mbumo has only had, very, very low XG in the past 3 to 4 games that he's blanked. I think taken a very low number of shots as well. So I'm really not, if he continues to play in the same way or the same tactical position, then I honestly don't think that Mbumo is going to look really good. Rumors of Rogers being benched. Let me have a look. Let me just have a look. I mean, not that I've seen anything concrete. I mean, it is a rumor after all, but if you have it, send it in the chat so that I can have a look. Or at least put the source in, and then I'll have a look. If Rogers is benched, might have to make some changes. But not that I see anything concrete for now, at least. Greaves will start with Twanzebe and other Ipswich defenders being out. I know they are struggling with kind of defenders right now. I mean, possibly, if it's a situation where they need to rush him in. But it's just very rare, right? Like to put Greaves straight in for like 90 minutes after he's been out for so long. Like he hasn't played a game in ages. Ages. He's been rotting on the bench. It's since game week 8. It's a good 6 game weeks ago. Like I honestly think despite the yeah, lack of defenders is one thing, but is it safe for a player to just go straight back into the team and play a 90-minute game? Like I guess it comes down to the assessment of how fit he is as well. But I still think unlikely. I still think unlikely. If I mean it could go on and happen. I can't tell the future. But my guess is I don't think it will be. No source, just whispers. All right, fair enough. Semenyo or Vissa. Man, the questions are tricky today. Semenyo or Vissa? I mean, I think the Tottenham game for Bournemouth will be a high scoring game. There will be space in behind Spurs as always. I'm gonna go Semenyo here. I'm gonna take a stand and say Semenyo. Start Isak or Rogers. I've said Rogers all stream, but now people are saying that there's rumors of him, whispers that he might be benched. I haven't heard anything, so I'd still go that way. Right, so we're gonna call it a day in maybe about 5 to 10 minutes. It's getting late around here. But thank you all for tuning in and joining me on the deadline stream. It was very, very fun. Yeah, we'll do maybe about 5 more minutes and we'll call it a day. Jackson for Isak. By the way, if you haven't got your questions answered, if I missed it somehow, just drop it in the chat. We'll spend the last 5 minutes on a quick fire questions spree. Jackson for Isak, who has the better upside? Jackson. I feel like Jackson is the more informed player. Semenyo or Vissa bench? I took a stand on this one and I said Semenyo. João Pedro or Welbeck has to be João Pedro. Bench 1 of Vissa, Johnson, or Semenyo. So I would start Johnson, so it's back again to Vissa and Semenyo. I would say start Semenyo and then bench Vissa. Yeah, benching dilemmas this week are difficult. Start Mbumo or Semenyo. I will start Mbumo. Where do I live? I live in Singapore. All right, so I think let's call it a day. Thank you all for tuning in. Let me just wrap it up with my team here. So I don't think I'll be making any drastic changes to the team. If somehow, I don't think we will, but if somehow I get concrete Rogers news that he, is going to get benched, which I really don't think is true. I mean, he started almost every game in the Premier League. I mean, 13 starts so far. You could say that maybe they changed things up because of their recent performances. But he started, every other game and looked pretty decent for minutes. So I wouldn't think it's going to be that much of a concern for me. Right, so I'll leave it at that. If somehow he doesn't, then I think Wood has to come in already. Right, so, but I don't think I'll be making any extra transfers. So in terms of players, that's pretty much it. So thank you all for tuning in to the stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please do drop a like on the stream if you haven't already. Thank you for subscribing as well. Please do subscribe if you haven't. And I'll catch you guys very, very soon because the game weeks are coming thick and fast. I will catch you guys in the game week 15 content that's coming. I think on Thursday I'll have a video out. Right, so it's coming thick and fast. Content is coming, very, very fast as well. Hope you guys are looking forward to that. If not, I will catch you guys very, very soon. Wish you green arrows for game week 14. Bye bye.